All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Steve Edwards. I'm the CEO of Premier Virtual. I'm an Army guy, so we're just going to get started right here as everybody continues to log in. On the call with me today, I have Zach Shiflett, who is my Director of Business Solutions, and John Garcia, who is my Director of Marketing. So if you have any questions during the day today, you can drop it in the chat or you can send it directly to them and put it in the Q&A so that we can get all your questions answered about hybrid. So quick little backstory on me is kind of how we got to this point today on this conversation. For 9 years, I put on in-person job fairs. So I did events all over the country. Before that, I was a director of sales for a company that I would build sales teams. So how did you hire people is I was on job boards and job fairs, and then I would go to all of these markets. And during that time, I had attended every job fair out there. When that company unfortunately shut down, I got into the job fair industry with a company out of New Jersey who did a little bit different on their job fairs, where they were done in the evening time, geared towards a certain industry. And they had 2 rooms set up. And one room was set up just like any other job fair. The other room was set up where all of the candidates would come in, and during that event, we would speak to them, and each company would then say, here's who we are, here's what we do, here's what we're hiring for, and here's why you should come work for us. So it was a very efficient process, and I really liked the way that it was done. So when I started doing the job fairs, I went to them and said, I want to do what you do. So I did that for 9 years. But one thing that I saw in 2018 was people stopped coming to job fairs, and I had to find something else. So I started running virtual job fairs, and I fell in love. It was instantly, I saw that I could do a job fair across a whole state or a whole country. And so I started doing virtual job fairs. I fell in love and said, this is the future of hiring events. Well, now fast forward, didn't really love the platforms that were out there in 2018. It really wasn't that big of a thing. So we decided to build our own platform, and we built Premier Virtual. So we developed Premier Virtual to be really give our clients more access to candidates in a larger pool across the country. Well, then we all know what kind of happened in 2020, and COVID hit. You know, COVID really showed the world how virtual can work. Now, I would be wrong to say if I didn't say some people do not like the word virtual. Some people want nothing to do with virtual. Some of them are just burnt out on virtual. But I'm going to ask kind of a question to see, right? And I want you to think about this for a second is, what can you do at an in-person event that a virtual event cannot do? And think about that. And I know your first reaction is going to be, you can meet face-to-face at an in-person. I was at an in-person job fair last week, and I was there, right? I'm still I love that interaction with face-to-face too. And I was there, and I was at the event, and the event was not successful. And after the event was over, they posted all over social media how great the event was. Well, here's the one thing to think about, and here's the answer. What can an in-person do that a virtual can't? You can lie, right? And I know that doesn't sound positive, but I want you to think about this for a second. At a virtual event, there's all the data is tracked. At an in-person, the data is not tracked. So you can say how many people you had there or how many people you wanted to have there. You can do that in person. Virtual, the numbers don't lie. The data's there. Do I love in-person events? Yes. Do I love virtual events? Yes. But what I love together, what I love more is putting them together. And here today, I'm going to talk about hybrid events, right? How they work, how they can be successful, and how you can use them in your recruiting tools. Now, I'm going to send a poll out right now. I'm going to launch a poll so you can put that poll, answer those questions in there. It's a little bit about in-person, a little bit about virtual, in the hybrid aspect. But I want you to think, right, what does an in-person event and a virtual event have in common? What does a job fair and a networking event, no matter if it's in person or virtual, what does it do? It connects one person with another person. Now, is it a job seeker with an employer? Is it a trade show that's somebody that's looking for something and somebody who's selling something? Is it a networking event where you're just looking to connect? Doesn't matter if it's in person or virtual, you are connecting one person to another person. And what people want from your events, it's not just what you feel, it's what your attendees, you're putting on this event for your attendees. So how can you give them the best user experience? And doesn't matter, again, in person, virtual, hybrid, you want to be able to get what they want, right? I was on the call with somebody, about 2 months ago, and was very, very not positive about virtual. Didn't like virtual at all. But I asked her, what was more important, what you feel or what your end user feels? Are you doing the event for you, or are you doing the event for your end user? And what you have to really be able to do is think about your end users. What do they want? And I guarantee if you went out and polled every one of your users, is it an employer? Is it an attendee? Is it a job seeker? They want a great experience. Now, how can you give that to them? We're going to talk about that throughout the day. But the one thing about hybrid is it doesn't leave anybody out. Everybody can now attend. Take COVID out. Pretty much COVID is not talked about anywhere, but there are still some people that don't want to travel. They don't want to be in groups. And I always say there's 3 types of people that are out there. Type 1 is the people that say, I'm not going to travel. I don't want to take the risk of being around, catching anything out there. I don't want to do that. I'd rather stay home. You have the other group of people that say, I want to get out. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to do everything. I don't want to be limited by what anybody is telling me. And then you have the third group. They're kind of in the middle. They don't really want to be in the groups, but they know they have to. So they can still, they can wear their masks. They can do what they need to do to be protected, but they can still go out in public. So if you have group 1 that doesn't want to go out anywhere and you do an in-person event, they're not going to come. If you have group 2, but you're doing a virtual event, they may not come because they want to be out. They want to shake hands, meet face to face, go out there. So the best way to get groups 1, 2, and 3 is to be able to have your hybrid event. Now, how can a hybrid event work? And I'm going to show you a couple things here later on. But when you're looking at the hybrid event, is you have your in-person event, right? Where's the venue? Is it easy to get to? Are you paying for parking, right? On a job fair side of things, I've always said it, I would never have an in-person job fair at a place that you paid for parking. Because candidates, some of them are looking for jobs, they don't want to pay $1, $2, $5, $10 to pay for parking. Out of all of the events I did, we had Miami, every place wanted to charge for parking. We paid for all of the parking for everybody. So they knew when they got there, they got a voucher, so they didn't have to pay for parking. because you don't want those people to have to do that, right? You want to create a good experience for them. Where the event is within a hotel is part of the experience. Is it that you have the front door where they walk in and they got to walk a super long way to get to that? That's not a good experience. You want to make sure that they have a really good experience that's there. Virtual, you want to be able to have an ease of use. How's the registration process? What is it like for the virtual for those candidates? When those candidates come in, can they find what they're looking for quickly? You want to make sure that it's all ease of use is out there that we see with every organization is those candidates want to be able to get to those recruiters as easy as possible, right? They don't want to have to wait in long lines. They don't want to have to wait in queues. They say, hey, I want to talk to a recruiter. I can either I can send them a message right there, because a lot of times they have just a quick question. Or if they want to skip the line, they could schedule a specific time to meet with that recruiter. So they can come into a job fair, pick the time that they want to meet and know, okay, I'm meeting with this recruiter at 1 o'clock. I don't say I'm going to meet the recruiter in 15 minutes and then that recruiter pushes me off because they're still talking to somebody else. That makes people frustrated. We've powered over 7,000 virtual events on the platform, the largest ever job fair that's ever been done with 1,700 companies and 17,000 job seekers was done on our platform. As we speak right now, there's a job fair that's going on in our platform that has over 1,200 companies that are hiring with 55,000 available positions. That can't be done in person. But what's the number one thing that our clients tell us that they love about virtual is the analytics. We track almost 200 data points within the platform, right? So if you take all the data that you get from the analytics and you put that together with the in-person, you come up with the hybrid. So what we're seeing a lot of organizations that are doing out there is they'll do their hybrid event. Some of them do it at the same time. So they have their recruiters that are in person. They have their recruiters that are sitting back at the office to be able to talk to those candidates. Again, they're doing this so they leave no candidate out of the mix. With every job fair that you're looking at, you want to have a date, a time, and a location. So you want to drive these candidates to meet these recruiters at a certain date, time, and location. A lot of people will come to me and say, Steve, I'm thinking about doing a virtual event and I want to have an 8-hour job fair. And I tell them that's wrong. And I give them kind of everybody, I tell the same thing like I'm going to tell you. When I switched from in-person to virtual, my in-person job fairs were from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock at night. So those people that were employed looking for a better opportunity could come after work. Most job fairs are done between 9 o'clock to 1 or 2 o'clock, right? 9 to 1, 10 to 2. Well, who can attend that job fair, that in-person job fair? Somebody who's not working. But what about those people, which is the majority right now with the unemployment rate, those people that are working, that are unemployed, that are employed, looking for a better opportunity. I like to call them the underemployed, right? They're not happy with where they're at. They want to find something else. Can they take off their job to go out to an in-person job fair? Probably not. But can they go take a break? Could they, if they're working from home, switch from the work computer to the personal computer and log into a virtual career fair? They can. And some of you are going to say, well, Steve, that's just not the right thing to do if you're working and you shouldn't be on your personal. I agree with you. It is. But I think it was just Apple that just fired a bunch of people because they were working multiple full-time jobs from home, right? Working remote. They ended up seeing that they were working these jobs. They had multiple computers out there working two and three full-time jobs. It's being done. And I personally right? Being the CEO of my company, I would rather have somebody that wants to be here for me than has one foot out the door. Because if they already have one foot out the door and they're looking for another job, that means they're not happy. If they're not happy, they're not giving their full on work ethic to your company. And if they're not giving full on, they're not treating your clients the way that they should, which then means the customer service might not be there. So to me, I'd rather have somebody all in than halfway out, because I don't think that when somebody's halfway out, they're doing a good job anyway. So unfortunately, those people that are looking for other jobs that are out there, they're not giving their all in anyway. So it's better to get rid of them sooner than later. So back to kind of the hybrid things, right? Not leaving anybody out. If you do it at the same day, same time, right? You're driving the candidates in, or whatever they could be. Sometimes we're seeing now where they'll put the in-person event before. So you have the in-person event that's on Tuesday, drive all those candidates there. And then the next day you have the virtual, right? Sometimes it's vice versa, where they'll do the virtual first and then the in-person after. Doesn't really matter which way they do it. Again, what does it matter? It matters for your attendees that are out there. How can you drive the most traffic to your events? I'm not going to get into the marketing side of everything today, but that's, to me, one of the biggest things is when you're looking at a virtual or hybrid platform, how are you going to market that event? Right? You can have an event that's out there that could be a beautiful event that you have it and you say, hey, this is a great event. We got some great companies in there. But if none of the candidates know about this, how are they going to come to your event? So marketing is key, right? The platform that you choose for in-person or hybrid, how does it work? How does that hybrid work, right? And that starts with the ease of use, and it starts with the registration process, right? What kind of data do you want to collect? What does that registration look like? What does it look like on their laptop, on their iPad, on their other kind of tablet, on their mobile, right? That starts everything right there, is the presentation, the UX, UI of what that looks like. And then what kind of data do you want to be able to get during that event? On that hybrid, are you tracking who's coming in person, or are you tracking who's coming virtual? Right? When you think about the question that in a registration question that you're going to ask during the event, one of the questions is are you going to come to the in-person? Are you going to come to the virtual? So you can kind of get your numbers of where people are going to come from. Then after the event, when you send your after event surveys, you can say, hey, here are the people who are coming in person. Did you make it? Right? Did you come to the in-person like you said, or did you make it virtual, or just not come? So you can find out who came, right? And what you want to be able to do is when you're doing these hybrid events and you're asking these questions, you also want to have that after event survey, because then you can know, did more people come in person or virtual, or did some people come both, right? Because now you can say, well, I did a little bit more marketing on the in-person, but we had more people show up on the virtual. Or I did a lot of things and talked to a lot of people about the virtual, but I had more on the in-person, right? You can look at where do you want to spend your marketing dollars? How do you want to get there? How do you want to get these people? Where your marketing is key, how your marketing is key, because you want to be able to know, right? Where are you getting these candidates from? How are you getting the candidates? What is exciting to them? Is digital or in person, right? You're going to have, right? And I've been at events where, the majority of the in-person were younger. I've been at events where the majority were a little older, right? But it's where you market, right? Like we all know, we've all heard of of TikTok, and TikTok's taking over kind of marketing. Do you have a plan on TikTok? Are you talking about both? Or when you market, do you just talk about, hey, attend our in-person job fair? marketing is key, and how you market that hybrid event is key. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody, because the marketing is key to everything on the event. So back to the experience on the candidates. What do the candidates look for? What do the organizations look for? Have you ever sat down with some of your candidates and asked, what do you want? What makes you register, and what makes you log in or show up at that hotel or wherever you're putting on the job fair? Have you ever sat down and really talked to your people about that? So think about that. Are you talking with your people? When we launched the first version of our platform, we had got feedback from our clients. When we launched the second version of our feedback of our platform, we sat down and we had almost 50 focus groups with clients. And what do you want to see? Then when we mocked up everything and showed what we were doing, we then did more focus groups to show them so that we can tweak them. And how do we continue the roadmap to be better on everything? It's sitting down with our clients and saying, what do you want to see? Right? Like the hybrid model. We sat down with clients and they came to us and said, here's what we want to do. How can you help us? Because so many people look at Premier Virtual as a just a virtual job fair platform. This is all it does. Well, now we have so much more to this, and I'm not going to get into everything just about Premier Virtual on here, but there's a lot more than just being a virtual job fair platform, right? There's more on here, right? And I'm going to show you this, just a couple things here in a few minutes on the hybrid aspect and what some of organizations are out there really doing all of that. So I'm going to take a quick little break. I've been talking for about 20 minutes. Is there any questions that anybody wants to talk about or ask before I kind of get into showing some of the things of how people are using hybrid events? All right, no question. So, okay. So again, we want to make sure, hybrid events, we got the in-person, face-to-face, shake hands, can be able to see that. Hybrid gives virtual gives the analytics. So how do we have that together? Let me show you a little bit right here of how that all works. So my favorite event, this is one of our clients out in California that they put on an event. Now, Sarah, who runs this, she was on one of our webinars one time and she talked about this event. It was a 3-week-long event that they wanted to put on. And the first thing they did was workshops. So they had all these different workshops that were put on during the week. So they were driving their job seekers right to the workshops. So they could come into the workshops, learn a little bit about it. Again, more than a job fair, but they created a really good workshop and training right in the platform. Then if you look here, on August 10th, they had a virtual job fair, and August 17th, they had an in-person job fair. So we're going to come over here to the August 10th. They did their virtual a week before. And if you see here, they had 51 companies in their virtual. They had 25 companies in their in-person. So once they got onto their virtual job fair, they really made it easy for the candidates, right? We talked about the ease of use, getting that to the candidates of how they can reach these recruiters. Now, if you see here, Premier Virtual has the job category, job title, and city. Candidates can actually search for their specific type of jobs that they want to look for that's there. So we made it efficient, just like a job board, to get that candidate to talk to the direct kind of companies they want. But what Golden Sierra does here is they really create it where they have all the employer booths. They could search by location. So they had all of their counties that they had, right? They even had their remote work from home type of event. They had search by industry. they had the industries that the jobs were in, and they also had experience level, which they're one of the only ones who does by experience level. And I absolutely love this because they're driving the candidates that are looking for, you know, maybe an entry level or an executive position, all directly right in here. So again, this is what they created as their event for their for their virtual. So they made it very, very easy for them. And then they have all the employer boosts that once they come in, you know, and a candidate can come in, again, they could search if they wanted to search by a job title and they wanted to say, I'm looking to be a mental health professional. Now it really takes it down and they get a customized lobby right here. So they could come in here, see the company, you know, see what the company does. They can look at the job postings right here and they could apply to the job right through the system. Now, here's the good thing, right? This is all tracked for them right within the platform. They could go, they could schedule an interview. There's not going to be any interviews that are here because there's no time slots and this event is over. But then they can research the company and see all of the information right here. Now, this is all in the virtual side of things. And the good thing too is they can start a chat directly with these companies as well. So these candidates, right, it's so beneficial for them to be able to see this before they have to wait in lines, right? You know, I talk about this a lot is, you know, in an in-person job fair, candidates come into there and they're so excited. They got their, you know, they're dressed up, they got their resume in their hand and they're standing in line. All right, I'm going to talk to this company. I'm here, right? They're excited. They walk up, they get to the front of the line and say, hi, my name is Steve and I'm looking for an accounting job. And they say, I'm sorry, Steve, we're only hiring for engineers. Okay. They walk to the next line. I stand in the next line. I wait there 15 minutes. I get up. I'm like, hi, my name is Steve, and I'm looking for an accounting job. Sorry, Steve, we're only looking for salespeople. Okay. You don't have any accounting jobs? Nope, I'm sorry. We only have salespeople. Okay, let me go to the next one. I wait in line. I wait in line. I wait in line. Now think about this. That candidate that is now at that in-person job fair, right? They can see, here are the job postings and say, am I excited about this? Do I want to wait in line? I don't have to wait in line. But if I like one of these positions, I could then come over here and start a chat and say, I'm interested in your investigator position. Can you tell me a little bit more? They've been able to look at the job, see that they're interested, then ask a specific question to that company. But if there wasn't any jobs, they don't have to wait in line. There is zero wasted time for them to be able to see that. So that's back to the, you know, the in-person, or I'm sorry, the virtual. Now, with the in-person job fair that they had, again, they kind of, let's get these categories out of here. They had their companies who were here. And the reason they did this, again, is now these candidates can come directly in here, see these companies that are going to be in the in-person, click on it, see the types of jobs they have to say, is this a company that I want to talk to? So when they come to that in-person event, they already have all the data. They can find out about that company. All of that data is specifically right there, right? I'm not going to talk about the notes the candidates can leave in here. You know, they could leave a note about the company. So when they go to the in-person job fair, they can look at their My Journey tab and they say, okay, these are the companies I looked through. These are the questions that I wanted to have. So when they get to that in-person job fair and they walk up to Rockland, they can say, hey, you know, I looked at the job postings you had. I'm very excited about this. Can you tell me a little bit more? Or what are my next steps? They took the virtual aspect, the digital side of it. They then went into the in-person and took the data that they had and asked them. That gave them a better user experience, gave them no wasted time. So there's not the recruiters that are sitting there talking to the candidates and saying, yep, I'm only hiring for this. I'm only hiring for this. I'm only hiring for this. There's no wasted time for the attendees. There's no wasted time for the organizations to be able to talk to the right candidates and the right recruiters to make it easy for them. That's why they can take the combination of virtual and in person, put it together, make it hybrid, and make it smoother for you. Now, you companies out there that are doing national hiring events, right? You can have a national hiring day and saying, hey, come into our retail store for interviews today, or come in and fill out an application. You can do that, but if you're the head recruiter at the top, you're going to have to find out, call every store or have them send in how many people submitted their resumes to you, how many people showed up at the store. There's a lot of things there that you're going to have. But if you had just an event like this, where you have your virtual event, you now know how many total job postings were there, how many vacancies, how many visits each one of the companies had, how many unique visitors, how many chats happened, how many total messages, how many resumes were submitted, all of that right during an event. And this was the event that's going on today that was pulled almost right immediately as it started. So you can see all of that data. That's the kind of thing that you can't see in person, or you're not going to be able to get without a lot of work on the national hiring event platform. So, or a national in-person hiring event. So you want to think of how can you get the data that you want from having both an in-person and a virtual that's there for the hybrid. This is the big thing that we have is we have the QR code. So within the QR code, each event has their own QR code. So this can go out into your registration so that all of the candidates and organizations, they register based off the QR code. And then when you look over here, I'm going to switch over. This is an organization, has their own QR code. So now at an in-person event, that candidate comes in, they scan their QR code to get into the event. It now tracks that they're into the event. And each company they come up to, they scan the QR code. You now have the data that you could get from virtual to your in-person, all based off just these QR codes and the data. It gives you the data for the in-person that it did for the virtual. So if you can see here, it makes it very easy for your organizations to be able to register and collect all the data. Now, we talk a lot about registration. Registration has to be easy. When that candidate gets to the registration page, or that organization gets to that registration page, what do they see? Why should they click register for that event? This is a college here in South Florida that they use the platform. And if you see here, they talked about the hybrid side of it, right? So here's the hybrid side as well as the virtual side. So you can create your registration page for your in-person, your virtual, your hybrid. We actually have some of our clients that use the platform just for registration purposes, just for their in-person events. Why? Because they want to be able to have the data and they want to have all the questions that you can have, because you can ask questions during a registration of that event. So you could see here, hybrid and virtual and in-person are all great. In-person has some really good things. Virtual has some really good things. But putting those together makes it so that you don't leave anybody out. And again, it's not about your thoughts. It's about the end users. So always think about your end user. How can I give them the best overall user experience and great experience so that they can connect one person to another person? Hybrid is a way to be able to do that, to track the data and to give you what you're looking for. That is all I have to talk about. So if there's any questions, please drop your questions in the chat. We are recording this, so we will be sending out the recording of this as well. If anybody wants to get more information on specifically how they can put on an event, you can just drop your email in the chat directly to me, and I can send that. I can have my team call with you and get a little bit more detail, show you kind of how the platform works, show you how the hybrid aspect works, and show it how it can help you and your organization and your recruiting needs for hybrid. Otherwise, if there's no questions, you can drop off, and we appreciate you spending a little bit of your time today talking about hybrid and how it can help you in your recruiting needs.
Thanks, everybody.